Welcome to the south of Cosmos. Well, today's video is about how I, sitting in the southernmost corner of India, and half the earth away from the United States, have seen the American elections unfold and how it led to the victory of the Donald. One of the most commonly heard analysis of this election was that this was an election based around common sense. The election was special because of the personalities involved. You have Donald, and the other side you have the first woman of color candidate, presidential candidate. As you might all know, this was an election where Kamala Harris avoided all press conferences, but she made herself, available to her audience through some podcasts and a few studio engagements. Other than the rallies that she held, she did hold quite a few rallies, but at the same time, Donald Trump made himself available for quite a lot of these interviews where obviously, just like what history has shown us, he never gets a favorable moderator. Almost all the media outlets, are ready with questions and posers against him. So, as the way that he likes to put it, very hostile and nasty, hosts that he gets. He found time to be part of the Joe Rogan show, which is currently the world's biggest podcast, has maximum reach. And that did kind of get him quite a good viewership. And also with the comedian Andrew Schultz, that played out well for him because people got to see him as somebody whom they could connect to and just talk easily, versus Kamala Harris, who stayed out of this and was happy to be on stage where a lot of her speeches were, well rehearsed, practiced, and many times scripted, to the point where she had evenly timed out statements and slogans which could be synced across different shows, different events. Along with that, another thing that people noticed was her way of trying to appease different crowds by talking different. And the most striking being the way that she changed her accent to the black accent. So this was something that did not work for her well, and probably also got her some very negative points. Now, there's one more thing that played out for and against, I would say. Especially in the case of Kamala Harris, she brought in quite a lot of celebrity endorsements. If you look at LeBron James, Eminem, Beyonce, Cardi B, Usher, the whole industry that was working along with her, versus, again, one more thing that we have to note is almost all the major mainstream media, the legacy media, worked to promote Kamala. Now, economy, inflation, and the price rise that happens along with it. This was a major issue. The common man was worried as to how to meet his ends at the end of the month, and the way that the two candidates responded to this question revealed their understanding of how the economy works and how effective the decisions are going to be. When Kamala Harris was asked how she's going to respond to the price rise, her answer was to fight price gouging. Price gouging is where traders or the sellers, they stock up things and artificially raise the price for higher margins. Now, this was something that she said that she's going to do. And she's going to find those people out, and she's going to make sure that they bring them to justice and bring the prices down. That immediately sounds pretty good because you have a villain on the other end. And when Donald Trump was asked how he's going to address the price rise, his statement was drill, baby, drill. Now that sounds very dramatic, and for the showman that he is, that sounded kind of natural. But there is economic sense to it. He explained in one of the interviews, he later explained what he meant. The whole economy runs on energy, oil in most cases. So if you reduce the price of energy, it is an invitation for marketers to kind of bring down the prices. And for the customers, it's a good ask. He also had strong views on reducing taxes, and he was the one who first came out with an offer to abolish all taxes on tips, in which about a week later, Kamala too used as one of her promises. Donald Trump was very strong on outsourcing, as that's one thing that he said he would address, where he would impose tariffs, but he said that he would impose tariffs to make sure that the competition is even. Confusion or the madness regarding gender discussions. Now, this is not an American thing. It's something that's happening all across the globe, and we saw it play out during the Olympics too. So that's there. Now, how did it play out in the voters' life? Sports. There were issues where men who transitioned or identified as women entered women's sports, and because of their obvious physical advantage, beat women at everything or everything that they competed in. And regarding their, private privileges like bathroom and restrooms, changing rooms, this is one of the places where, again, access was given to anybody who identified as one gender or the other. I believe that, what Donald Trump made a statement about how his regime would stop any trans inclusion in women's sports. And I guess maybe that might have worked out with the women parents too. Another major issue that was talked about, especially by the Harris campaign, was the abortion issue. Harris was really kind of out there talking about how women need to reclaim the right, and how the Trump regime was out there to kind of take away the rights of all of them, their daughters, as to what they could do with the body. On the other side, Donald Trump, but he would let the states decide on that, So an national level anti-abortion bill was not going to be in place, and states would be the final authority to decide that. That's what he said about it. Open borders, immigration, national security, crime, drug trade. Trump was arguing about, or was talking about, was the amount of crime that increased because of illegals coming into the country, and how crime cartels, drug cartels too, were openly abusing this crack in the system. So he was saying that he's going to fix it. Again, going back to the wall and making sure that he deports, or the regime will deport illegal migrants. So that was his promise to the public. And because it turned out to be a talking point and a major issue, Kamala Harris started, came out with her own view of having a stronger border, a tighter border. But because Trump was famous or infamous for his wall and his very strong views on migration and illegal migration, I think public could have imagined or seen him as somebody who could. We all know about Donald Trump. He's a racist, a sexist, he's a misogynist, xenophobic, and maybe even transphobic. And obviously he works out of white privilege. And that's something that the liberal camp never backed down upon. They just continually were screaming these terms and projecting and telling the whole crowd, telling the nation that this is what the post is all about. And on top of that, there were even comparisons with Hitler. And I would like to believe that these are terms that have been in circulation for some time now. And almost everybody out there has had direct experiences with these terms, both positive and negative. So it's not like labeling is enough for somebody to believe you. All these terms, but using all these terms against Donald Trump obviously did not work, because as I said before, people have been through these terms for quite a long time, enough to have a balanced view on this. Didn't work. And they also have their own experiences to fall back on. They can look back at how they felt during Trump's 4 years that they lived through. Did they experience racism? Was it xenophobic? Was he misogynist during this term? So those are things that are out there for people to kind of check back on. So name calling obviously doesn't help. Now, another factor that came into play very strongly was Elon Musk's approval of the Trump. A few of the voices that I thought made good sense: Vivek Ramaswamy and J.D. Vance, the vice president pick. One thing that I remember Vivek Ramaswamy said was, it's either a landslide win or any one of the parties severely underestimated the opponents or the voter base. One of the things that we need to consider is the fact that all these issues that we mentioned, factors that we mentioned for decision making, like price rise, inflation, taxes, border security, illegal migration, crime, gender issues, and the wars that the U.S. is part of, all of these are issues that are happening under the current regime's watch. Meaning to say, anybody who represents the current government, in this case, Kamala Harris, who's the current vice president, is directly or indirectly responsible for the state of affairs as they are. So the voter is definitely going to consider that part when taking into consideration the person's credentials. So that also played a huge part in the decision making. And these are things that really kind of worked well for the Trump campaign. I think that's how Trump won. Maybe I might have more insights on this later on, but that's what I feel. Again, as I said, not an expert. Looking at this phenomenon from half the world away, sitting here in a corner. And I said before in the beginning of the video, for somebody like me sitting in the southernmost corner of India, I get to appreciate and understand sources through the media that's available to me sometimes, and mostly secondhand information. And I draw my judgments based on that and from my own attitude or outlook towards what's happening around me. So all the things that I mentioned so far are my own personal opinions. I'm not a political analyst. So these are just views that occurred to me as and when I was observing things happening out there. So anyways, congratulations to the winning party. And looking forward to how these elections or these incidents will have an impact all across the globe. And hoping to meet you again in the next video.